Have you ever wondered why some people can walk into a room and immediately capture everyone's attention? Why certain individuals remain unforgettable while others fade into the background? The answer might surprise you. It's not about how much they do, but how little they reveal. It's about being unpredictable. You might think consistency and availability are the keys to maintaining relationships. But here's a hard truth. Predictability kills attraction. When someone knows exactly what you'll do, say, or feel, they stop noticing you. You become part of the background, comfortable, reliable, and ultimately invisible. But what if you could change the game entirely? What if you could make yourself the center of their thoughts, the person they can't stop wondering about? This isn't manipulation, it's mastery. Mastery of your own presence, actions, and emotions. Drawing from Stoicism and human psychology, this transformation isn't just about becoming more attractive to others. It's about reclaiming your personal power. By the end of this video, you'll understand how embracing unpredictability can elevate your relationships, redefine how others perceive you, and most importantly, bring you closer to the best version of yourself. We'll explore 8 transformative ways unpredictability can turn the dynamic in your favor, making you magnetic, intriguing, and unforgettable. Are you ready to break free from being overlooked and step into the power of the unexpected? Let's begin. 1. Why predictability kills attraction. Why do people lose interest so quickly? Why does showing up every time, responding immediately, and being predictable lead to being overlooked? The truth is, people stop valuing what they think they've figured out. Predictability removes the element of surprise, which is essential to maintaining intrigue and excitement. Imagine you're reading a book, but after a few chapters, you can predict every plot twist. Do you keep reading? Or do you set it down and look for something more engaging? People treat relationships the same way. The more predictable you are, the less they feel the need to invest energy in understanding you. When was the last time someone truly appreciated your consistency? Maybe you've been the one always texting first, always making plans, always trying to keep the connection alive. And yet their response has been lukewarm at best. It's not because they don't care, it's because they've grown comfortable. Comfort, as soothing as it may sound, is often the death of desire. This isn't a call to manipulate or play games, but to challenge yourself. As Stoicism teaches us, mastery begins with self-awareness. Are you acting out of a desire to please, or are you moving with intention? When you're predictable, you hand over control of the relationship to the other person. They know exactly when and how you'll respond, leaving no room for curiosity or anticipation. Think about this. What would happen if you disrupted the pattern? If, instead of sending that good morning text, you stayed silent? At first, they might not notice. But as time passes, a subtle shift occurs. They begin to wonder, why haven't you reached out? Did something change? That small crack in their certainty can reignite the spark that predictability extinguished. This is not about ghosting or withdrawing affection. It's about reclaiming your presence as a gift, not a given. When you are predictable, you are taken for granted. But when you introduce unpredictability, you remind others that your attention must be earned, not assumed. The ancient Stoics often emphasized the importance of control over your emotions, your reactions, and your priorities. Epictetus taught that freedom lies in disregarding what is beyond our control. When you allow yourself to be predictable, you give others control over your emotional state. By stepping back, you take that power back. You might be asking, but won't pulling back push them away? Perhaps. But here's the question you should really be asking. Do you want someone who only values you because you make it easy for them? The risk of stepping back is far less dangerous than the cost of being taken for granted. Predictability is comforting but forgettable. Unpredictability is unsettling but magnetic. The choice is yours. Will you remain the book they've read 100 times? Or will you become the story they can't put down? As we move into the next section, we'll dive deeper into how freedom, a core tenet of Stoicism, plays a critical role in taking back control of your relationships and making unpredictability your greatest strength. Stay with me. This is where the transformation truly begins. 2. freedom in taking back control. Have you ever felt like you're living someone else's script? Like your actions are so predictable that others have taken control of the narrative? If you always act as expected, responding immediately, saying yes every time, showing up no matter what, you're handing them control of your relationship. They can predict your every move, and with that certainty, the intrigue fades. Freedom, as the Stoics remind us, is the cornerstone of a meaningful life. Epictetus once said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." When you become predictable, you hand over your freedom. You allow others to dictate how you show up and how you feel. The good news, you can take that control back. Unpredictability isn't about manipulation, it's about liberation. It's about living on your terms, not theirs. Consider this. If you're always the one making plans, how often do they feel the need to step up? If you're always there to answer their texts immediately, when do they ever wonder about you? Predictability gives them control. Unpredictability shifts the balance. What happens when you stop being the one who always calls first? At first, they might not notice. But as time goes on, they begin to feel the absence of your effort. The silence isn't just empty, it's filled with questions. Did I do something wrong? Are they pulling away? Have I lost their attention? The dynamic shifts, and with it, so does their perception of you. By stepping back, you create space not just for their curiosity, but for their effort. And this is where the transformation begins. Suddenly, they're not just receiving your attention, they're working for it. That effort creates value, and value creates desire. This isn't easy. There will be moments when you feel the urge to jump back in, to explain yourself, to fill the silence. But ask yourself, why are you in such a rush to give them back the control you just reclaimed? Stoicism teaches us that we cannot control others' actions, only our own. Your unpredictability isn't about confusing them. It's about centering yourself in your own life, creating a rhythm that works for you. Let's make this practical. The next time they reach out, don't respond immediately. Not because you're playing games, but because you're busy living your life. Maybe you're at the gym. Maybe you're reading a book. Maybe you're reflecting on how much energy you've been giving away. Whatever it is, let them wonder for a moment. Let them experience the space they've never had to navigate before. Imagine the shift. Instead of waiting for you to show up, they start wondering where you've gone. Instead of taking you for granted, they start valuing the moments you do share. Freedom is not just about pulling away. It's about stepping into the version of yourself that no longer needs to be at someone's beck and call to feel worthy. You might be wondering, but isn't this selfish? Not at all. This is self-respect. It's a reminder that your time, energy, and attention are gifts, not guarantees. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Unpredictability is that strength. It's the freedom to decide how you show up and when, without feeling the need to explain yourself to anyone. Here's a challenge for you. This week, step back in one area of your life where you've been overly predictable. Maybe it's texting someone first every day. Maybe it's saying yes to every request, even when it drains you. Start small, but start. Watch how the balance begins to shift. If this resonates with you, take a moment to reflect in the comments below. What's one way you can reclaim your freedom in relationships? Share your thoughts and let's support each other in this journey. And if you're finding value in this conversation, hit the like button. It helps spread these insights to others who might need them too. This isn't just about them, it's about you. In the next section, we'll explore how redefining your presence, being intentional instead of always available, can elevate your value in the eyes of others. Stay with me because this is where the magic happens. 3. The value of presence, quality over quantity. Have you ever felt like you're always around, yet barely noticed? Like your presence has become part of the scenery in someone's life, a background constant that blends into the noise. This isn't because you lack worth or significance. It's because your presence is always guaranteed. And when something is always available, it becomes less appreciated. Think about the sunrise. If you woke up every morning knowing it would be a rare sight, wouldn't you marvel at its beauty? But because it's something we see every day, we stop noticing. Our minds are wired this way. We value what feels scarce and notice what surprises us. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, reminds us, "He who is everywhere is nowhere. When your presence is too frequent, it loses its impact." Relationships work the same way. If you're always the one reaching out, always showing up, always making an effort, your presence becomes routine. They don't ignore you because they don't care, they ignore you because they've come to expect you. Predictability makes your presence feel like background noise, always there, but never truly felt. Imagine someone who constantly plays their favorite song on repeat. At first they love it, appreciating every note. But over time they stop hearing it. The song becomes just another sound in the background. This is what happens when you are always present without pause. The solution isn't to disappear entirely. It's to redefine what it means to show up. Presence is not about quantity, it's about quality. When you show up with intention in moments they don't expect, your presence feels like a gift. It's not just being there, it's being felt. Consider the power of silence in music. The pauses between notes are what make the melody resonate. If there's no pause, no space, the music becomes noise. Your presence works the same way. It's not about being constantly available. It's about creating moments that linger because they're intentional, not routine. How do you redefine your presence? Start by asking yourself, am I showing up because I want to or because I feel I have to? Am I giving my time freely or am I trying to maintain a connection out of fear that it will fade? Stoicism teaches us to act from reason, not compulsion. When you choose to show up on your terms, not theirs, your presence becomes powerful. For example, instead of responding to every text or call immediately, take a moment. Ask yourself if this is the right time for you. When you do respond, be fully present. Give your attention freely, but not constantly. Let them feel the weight of your presence because it's rare, not routine. This might feel uncomfortable at first. You may fear that if you don't show up as often, they'll stop noticing you altogether. But here's the truth. People don't appreciate what's always available. They value what feels scarce. When you give them the gift of your presence sparingly and intentionally, they start to crave it. Think of it like a feast. If someone eats their favorite meal every day, it loses its charm. But when it's saved for special occasions, every bite feels extraordinary. Your presence should be that feast, not the daily routine they barely notice. Redefining your presence doesn't mean withdrawing affection or playing hard to get. It means being deliberate about where, when, and how you give your energy. When you stop being everywhere, you become unforgettable when you do show up. As we move forward, we'll dive into the emotional tension that unpredictability creates. This is where attraction truly thrives, when people can't predict your next move and are left wondering. Stay with me, the shift is only beginning. 4. The role of tension and emotional intrigue. Why do some people linger in your thoughts while others fade away? It's not always about their charm or their looks. It's about the emotional tension they create. When someone keeps you guessing, when their actions spark curiosity and uncertainty, they become unforgettable. Predictability, on the other hand, offers no mystery, no tension, and no reason to stay engaged. Imagine watching a thriller movie where you can predict the ending in the first 5 minutes. Would you stick around to watch the rest? Relationships are no different. Without emotional intrigue, interest fades. Tension, the uncertainty of not knowing what comes next, keeps people hooked. It's what drives them to think about you long after you've left the room. When someone knows exactly what you'll do, say, or feel, their curiosity dies. They stop analyzing your words, stop wondering about your intentions, and stop feeling the pull of your presence. Emotional intrigue is born from the gaps in their understanding of you, those spaces where they're left questioning, wondering, and imagining. Unpredictability doesn't mean being erratic or confusing. It means breaking the patterns they've come to expect. If you always reply to their texts immediately, what happens if you wait? If you always say yes to their plans, what happens when you say no for a change? These small shifts create ripples, forcing them to reevaluate their assumptions about you. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control and let go of what we cannot. Emotional intrigue arises not from trying to manipulate someone else's thoughts, but from mastering your own actions. It's about being so centered in your purpose that others can't quite pin you down. Let's think practically. Picture a situation where you've always been the one initiating conversations. What happens when you stop? At first, they might not notice, but eventually their mind starts to wander. Why haven't they texted? Did I do something wrong? Are they pulling away? That mental tension works in your favor. It keeps you in their thoughts, not because of what you're doing, but because of what you're not doing. This tension also shifts the balance of power in the relationship. When they're no longer sure of where they stand with you, they're forced to confront their own feelings. That uncertainty drives them to seek clarity, to chase after the connection they once took for granted. It's important to note that this isn't about playing games or toying with someone's emotions. It's about reclaiming your energy and allowing others to meet you halfway. Emotional tension works because it invites effort. When someone has to work to understand you, they naturally become more invested. Think of it like walking a tightrope. If everything feels steady and secure, you can stroll across without a care. But if there's even a slight wobble, your focus sharpens, your heart races, and you're completely engaged. That's the effect unpredictability has in relationships. It draws their full attention and keeps them on their toes. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to leave such a strong impression, even after brief interactions? It's not because they overshare or try too hard to connect. It's because they leave a little unsaid. They give just enough to spark your interest but hold back enough to leave you wanting more. By embracing unpredictability, you create that same allure. You allow your actions to speak louder than words, letting others wonder what motivates you, what excites you, and what you might do next. This intrigue doesn't just make you more attractive, it deepens the connection by drawing their attention to the space between your words and actions. As you move forward, start observing your own patterns. Are there areas where you've become too predictable? Where the tension is faded because they know exactly what to expect? Break one of those patterns this week. It could be as simple as taking longer to respond to a message or as bold as making plans without them. In the next section, we'll explore how scarcity amplifies your value and why creating space in relationships makes your presence feel more precious. Stay with me, the pieces are starting to come together, and the transformation is only just beginning. 5. Scarcity in making your time valuable. What happens when something is rare? People cherish it. They fight for it. They value every moment they have with it. Your time and energy are no different. When you're always available, your presence becomes ordinary. But when you create scarcity, you transform how others see you. Your time becomes a treasure rather than a convenience. Think about the concept of scarcity in nature. Gold is valuable not because it's shiny, but because it's rare. If gold were as common as sand, would it still hold its allure? Relationships work the same way. Marcus Aurelius said, "The value of a person's attention is measured by its scarcity." When your time is abundant, it's easy to take for granted. But when you make your time less accessible, it forces others to appreciate it. When you're always the first to respond, always the one making plans, or always there when they need you, you send a silent message. My time is unlimited. It's not a conscious realization on their part, but over time they start to expect your effort rather than value it. Scarcity shifts this dynamic. What does it mean to create scarcity? It doesn't mean disappearing or ignoring people. It means setting boundaries around your time and energy. For example, instead of replying to their texts the moment you see them, take your time. Instead of dropping everything to meet their needs, evaluate whether it aligns with your priorities. When you're not always available, they begin to notice when you are. Scarcity forces them to work for your attention. And when people have to work for something, they value it more. Imagine if someone handed you a trophy for showing up. It might feel nice, but would it hold much meaning? Now, imagine earning that trophy after hours of effort and dedication. The value isn't in the object, it's in the struggle to attain it. Creating scarcity doesn't just increase how others perceive your value, it also gives you the opportunity to focus on what truly matters. When you're not constantly pouring your energy into someone else, you can invest in yourself. Pursue your passions. Build your skills. Expand your horizons. Stoicism teaches us that true wealth isn't found in possessions, but in the strength of our character. The more you invest in yourself, the more magnetic you become to others. Of course, scarcity can feel risky. You might worry, what if they lose interest because I'm not always available? But here's the truth. If someone's interest fades simply because they have to work a little harder for your time, then they were never truly invested. Real connections are not built on convenience, they're built on mutual effort and respect. Let's turn this into action. Start small. Look at your relationships and identify one area where your time is being overextended. Maybe it's answering texts immediately, saying yes to every request, or always being the one to make plans. Take a step back. Introduce a little scarcity. Observe how the dynamic begins to shift. If this resonates with you, share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you experienced moments where pulling back made someone appreciate you more? Or are you struggling to create scarcity in a particular relationship? Let's start a conversation about how we can all reclaim our time and energy. And if you're finding value in this journey of self-discovery and transformation, hit the like button. It's a small action that helps spread these insights to others who might need them. Together, we can create stronger, healthier connections built on respect and intention. In the next section, we'll explore a powerful psychological motivator, the fear of being replaced. Stay with me, because understanding this dynamic will elevate not only how others see you, but also how you see yourself. 6. Sparking the fear of replacement. What happens when someone begins to fear losing you? Not because of anything you said, but because of what you didn't say. Not because of what you did, but because of the space you left unfilled. The fear of being replaced is one of the most primal and compelling forces in human psychology, and unpredictability is its catalyst. When you're always present, always predictable, the idea of losing you barely crosses their mind. They assume you'll always be there, no matter how little effort they put in. But when you create distance, when you become less accessible, something shifts. Suddenly, they can't help but wonder, what if I'm no longer their priority? What if someone else is taking my place? This isn't about being deceptive or playing games. It's about letting the absence of certainty do the work for you. Seneca reminds us we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. The fear of replacement doesn't require you to confirm or deny anything. It's their own mind that fills in the gaps, spinning scenarios of what might be happening in the space you've left behind. Consider this: when you're constantly available, there's no room for them to imagine a life without you. But when you pull back, their imagination starts working overtime. Why haven't they responded? Are they spending time with someone else? Did I take them for granted? These questions stir unease, and unease sparks effort. This isn't about punishing anyone or testing their loyalty. It's about creating a space for them to reflect on what you mean to them. Without that space, there's no urgency, no reason for them to fight for the connection. The fear of being replaced acts as a wake-up call, jolting them out of complacency. Think about the last time you felt uncertain about where you stood with someone. Did it make you work harder to earn their attention or approval? Did it drive you to reevaluate your actions or effort? Unpredictability has the same effect on others. By stepping back, you allow them to feel the weight of your absence and the possibility that someone else might fill the space you once occupied. But here's where the power of Stoicism comes in. Your goal isn't to control their response or manipulate their emotions. Epictetus teaches us that true freedom lies in detaching from outcomes beyond our control. The fear of replacement isn't something you can force. It's something you create space for by living your life authentically and intentionally. Imagine you've been the one constantly initiating plans, always ensuring the relationship stays afloat. Then one day you stop. Not out of spite, but because you've decided to focus on yourself. You pick up a new hobby, spend time with other friends, or simply enjoy your own company. You're not broadcasting these changes to make them jealous. You're genuinely prioritizing yourself. What happens next? Their imagination takes over. Why have they changed? Are they losing interest? Is someone else giving them the attention I took for granted? That uncertainty becomes the spark they can't ignore. It's not just the fear of losing you. It's the fear of someone else gaining what they've overlooked. This dynamic doesn't just apply to romantic relationships. In friendships and professional settings, Even in family dynamics, creating space and unpredictability allows others to reassess how much they value you. When people believe they have to earn their place in your life, they often step up in ways they never did before. But here's the key. You must be willing to walk away. The fear of replacement only works if you're truly content with the possibility of moving forward without them. This is where Stoicism becomes your foundation. You focus on what you can control, your own growth, happiness, and fulfillment, and release any attachment to their reaction. This might sound harsh, but it's not. It's a form of self-respect. If someone values you, they will rise to meet the effort you deserve. If they don't, their absence only makes room for people who will. By sparking the fear of replacement, you're not just creating tension, you're raising the standards of how you're treated. In the next section, we'll delve into one of the most critical aspects of this transformation, building a magnetic aura of self-respect. Because true power doesn't come from how others see you, it comes from how you see yourself. Stay with me, because this is where the real change begins. 7. Building a magnetic aura of self-respect. Have you ever noticed how people treat you the way you treat yourself? When you respect your own boundaries, your own time, and your own worth, others can't help but mirror that energy. This is the foundation of true attraction, a magnetic aura of self-respect that draws people in without you having to lift a finger. But what does self-respect look like in practice? It's not loud or boastful. It doesn't demand attention or validation. Instead, it's quiet, steady, and unshakable. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." If your thoughts are filled with self-doubt, insecurity, or the constant need to please others, that's the energy you project. But when your thoughts are grounded in confidence, integrity, and self-respect, that's what people see and feel when they're around you. Self-respect begins with boundaries. How many times have you said yes when you wanted to say no? How often have you overextended yourself, hoping someone would finally notice or appreciate your effort? And yet, instead of earning their respect, you found yourself feeling drained, overlooked, or even resentful. Here's the hard truth. People don't respect what you give too freely. Your time, your energy, your attention, they're all valuable. But when you offer them without limits, others stop seeing their worth. Self-respect is about knowing when to give and when to hold back. It's about choosing yourself even when it feels uncomfortable. Imagine a scenario where someone crosses a boundary. Maybe they cancel plans at the last minute or speak to you in a way that feels dismissive. Do you brush it off to keep the peace? Or do you calmly but firmly let them know their behavior isn't acceptable? Self-respect doesn't mean starting conflicts, it means addressing them with clarity and confidence. The beauty of self-respect is that it changes the way people perceive you. When you carry yourself with quiet confidence, others instinctively sense your value. They don't question your worth because you don't question it yourself. And that energy is magnetic, it draws people closer, not because you're chasing them, but because they feel the pull of your presence. Let's take this a step further. When you respect yourself, you stop over-explaining. Have you ever felt the need to justify your decisions, explain your boundaries, or convince someone of your worth? Self-respect frees you from that need. You start moving with purpose, making decisions because they align with your values, not because you're seeking approval. This shift might feel uncomfortable at first. You might worry that pulling back or enforcing boundaries will push people away, and sometimes it will. But here's the thing. The right people will rise to meet your standards. The wrong ones will fall away, and that's not a loss. It's a gain. You're creating space for relationships that honor your worth. Epictetus asked, "How long are you going to wait before you demand the best for yourself?" This is the question you need to ask yourself every day. Because self-respect isn't something you wait for, it's something you choose. Every time you honor your boundaries, every time you walk away from someone who doesn't value you, you're strengthening that magnetic aura. If this resonates with you, take a moment to reflect. What's one way you can start respecting yourself more today? Maybe it's saying no to something that doesn't align with your values. Maybe it's taking a break from someone who drains your energy. Or maybe it's simply reminding yourself that your worth isn't tied to anyone else's opinion. Share your thoughts in the comments below. What's one step you're taking to build your own aura of self-respect? And if this message resonates with you, hit the like button. It's a small action, but it helps spread this insight to others who might need it too. In the final section, we'll bring everything together. We'll explore how these principles can create lasting change, not just in your relationships, but in the way you see yourself. Stay with me. Your transformation is almost complete. 8. Bringing it all together. The transformative power of unpredictability. By now, you've seen how unpredictability reshapes relationships, not by playing games, but by inviting others to see your value in ways they hadn't before. It's about moving away from patterns that make you easy to overlook and stepping into your power as someone worth noticing, respecting, and chasing. But to make this transformation lasting, you must integrate all these principles into your way of being. Unpredictability isn't about inconsistency, it's about intentionality. Every decision you make, every interaction you have should reflect a deeper understanding of your worth. When you redefine your presence, create scarcity, and build tension, you're not just shifting the dynamics of your relationships. You're changing how you show up in the world. What does this look like in practice? It begins with awareness. Notice where you've been predictable, not just in your actions, but in how you give your energy. Are you always the one to fix problems, offer validation, or maintain the connection? If so, ask yourself, are you doing this because it serves you or because it serves others at the expense of yourself? Unpredictability thrives when you live a life so full of purpose, growth, and self-respect that others naturally feel drawn to you. This is where Stoicism becomes your ally. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Focus on becoming the best version of yourself. When you do, unpredictability is no longer something you try to create. It becomes a byproduct of your authentic life. This transformation also requires patience. The changes you make might not yield immediate results, and that's okay. Growth isn't supposed to be easy or instantaneous. It's in the moments of discomfort, when you resist the urge to fall back into old patterns, that you begin to build true strength. Think of it like planting a tree. At first, there's no visible change. The seeds of unpredictability are taking root below the surface, unseen but essential. Over time, those roots grow deeper, creating a foundation that can weather any storm. And when the tree finally blossoms, its beauty isn't just in its appearance, it's in the resilience it developed to get there. This is what unpredictability does for you. It's not just about becoming more attractive to others. It's about building a foundation of self-worth and self-mastery. When you stop chasing, stop explaining, and start moving with purpose, you become a force that others can't ignore. And yes, there will be moments of doubt. Moments when someone doesn't respond the way you hoped, or when stepping back feels too risky. But remember, you're not responsible for how others perceive your actions. As Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Focus on your growth, and let others decide how they want to respond to the person you're becoming. The fear of losing someone or being misunderstood can feel overwhelming. But here's the truth. The people who belong in your life will see your worth, not because you chase them, but because you've created space for them to step up. And the ones who don't, they were never truly yours to begin with. Unpredictability isn't about withholding or manipulating, it's about living with intention. When you do this, you create a life that people want to be part of, not because you demand their attention, but because your presence feels like a privilege. In the end, unpredictability isn't just a tool. It's a way of reclaiming your freedom, respecting your boundaries, and living a life that reflects your true value. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to convince anyone. Your actions, your energy, and your presence will speak louder than words ever could. This is your moment to transform. The pieces are already in place. All that's left is for you to step into your power and let others catch up. The journey doesn't end here, it's just beginning. Unpredictability isn't just a strategy, it's a philosophy, a way of living that reflects your deepest values and truest self. Through the principles we've explored, you've seen how small shifts can create profound changes, not only in how others perceive you, but in how you perceive yourself. This isn't about becoming someone else. It's about uncovering the version of you that is already magnetic, confident, and free. By breaking the cycle of predictability, you redefine your presence. You invite others to value your time and effort. You remind them that your attention is not an obligation but a gift. You create emotional intrigue, sparking curiosity and effort in relationships where complacency once reigned. And most importantly, you reclaim your freedom to live intentionally, to set boundaries, and to demand the respect you deserve. It's natural to feel uneasy at first. Growth always comes with discomfort, but discomfort is a sign that you're moving forward, breaking away from old patterns that no longer serve you. Remember, transformation is not a single act, but a continuous journey. As you embrace unpredictability, you'll find yourself building stronger connections, not because you're chasing others, but because they're drawn to the powerful energy you project. Now it's your turn. What will you do differently starting today? What patterns will you break? How will you begin to embody the principles of unpredictability and self-respect we've discussed? Take a moment to reflect and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your story might inspire someone else to take that first step toward reclaiming their power. If this message resonated with you, let others know by liking this video. Your support helps spread these ideas to people who might need them. And if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel for more content like this. We're on this journey together, building stronger, more intentional lives one step at a time. Thank you for being part of this conversation. I hope you take these insights and make them your own. Until next time, remember, you are not here to chase. You are here to be seen, valued, and respected. Wishing you strength, clarity, and growth on your journey forward. Stay unpredictable, stay true, and let them rise to meet you.